Welcome to the Snap UK podcast, your home for NFL news, views and opinions on this side of the pond. Check us out online at thesnappodcast.com and join in with the debates and random nonsense at
The Snap UK.
Thank you. Once again, we find ourselves ensconced at the doghouse, where Jim is back after moving house. Say hi, Jim.
Hello.
But Paul is absent after moving his bowels, I assume. And after last week's show, that's definitely enough toilet talk, at least until we get to the Raiders. Gary and John are here too. Say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
We'll have our power rankings at the end of the show. Prior to that, Ravens, Bengals, Pats and Jets are on the bye. And in a week that gave us Jeff Saturday's debut victory, a dominant display from the Dolphins and a sad defeat for the last team standing, there really is only one place to start. Vikings 33, Bills 30, game of the season, and the Vikings didn't blow it. This was incredible.
No, the Bills blew it.
They absolutely blew it.
Absolutely.
The referees nearly blew it.
Well, where would you like to go with this one? Because the last 2 minutes are the most important.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it was a humdinger of a game anyway.
It was brilliant. But yeah,
Thanks for that review,
it's
John.
really hard.
We shouldn't be too surprised. The Bills are one of the best teams in the AFC. The Vikings are clearly one of the best teams in the NFC with better coaching this year. So it's a bit like we want to see the Eagles, which we'll come on to, against some really good teams to see what happens. It's always great when you see, two heavyweights from each conference go up against each other. It gives you an idea of what a Super Bowl could be.
This would be an awesome Super Bowl by listening.
It's also testament to their form at the moment. The Vikings are prime at getting one-score wins at the moment, and the Bills, even since the beginning of last year, aren't very good at close games. They don't seem to be able to manage a game. They have to get out to that big lead. They actually did that in this game and still managed to throw it away. And that's what worries me about the Bills. They don't seem
24-10 up at halftime?
They don't seem to be able to kind of go toe-to-toe with some of these bigger teams.
Do you think they burn enough clock?
No, I don't, because they've not
No
had
run
a
game.
run. They've not had
No
a
run game, and they don't use Dawson Knox enough.
It's fair, yeah.
They just do not burn enough clock. When you see really good teams that get into good leads, like, Brady-type teams, and I hate to say it, but when Brady manages a game and the clock, he just burns time, doesn't he? Those quick slants, all those things that mean that each series is a, kind of, 4 or 5 different, kind of first downs, because you don't want to try and get Josh Allen to run for 30 yards all the time. It doesn't burn enough clock.
It's a fair point. You look at the number of plays each team had. The Vikings had 79 plays and the Bills had 72 plays. It's a heavy workload for both teams. So, yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. They're not, maybe clock management is something they're just not very good at. And they haven't got the tools to utilise it.
As well, let's not forget, this game hinged on a botched snap. That's why the Vikings won this game. The Bills should have got this. They had a botched snap. They fucked it up. And it was still a great game.
You could also say it before that. If the Bills hadn't done that, you could say the Vikings fucked it up by not being able to get it in.
Exactly, and that happens as well. It all hinges on a.
So basically, Kirk Cousins needed 6 inches to score with a quarterback sneak and didn't get in.
Yep.
Now, 9.5 times out of 10, teams score from that position, and they didn't. This was after he had a free play, which he threw the ball to Dalvin Cook, who dropped the ball. All you had to do was walk in, and it would have counted because the flags were against Buffalo, and he dropped it. So the Vikings had already blown their chance to win this game, but it meant that Josh Allen had got to receive the snap 6 inches inside the end zone, and like you say, the snap was mishandled.
Last year, the Vikings put up great offense. Yeah, you can argue that Cousins can't play prime time. We know that. That's fine. Yeah, but
It does kind of count in the playoffs.
Well, no, because it's not midweek, is it? It's not a Monday or a Thursday.
Or a Sunday night.
It's a Sunday night.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine at the weekends. But the point is, their defence last year for the Vikings did not win them many games.
No.
And this year, they are back to the Vikings' defence of 3 years ago with Case Keenum, where actually they win games as well. You can't expect the offence to win every single game.
But as well, we can say that they didn't get it in from the 6 inches away.
Which is something you struggled with in the past, I believe.
Understandably.
No always means no.
I don't know what the accusation is there on, but like,
moving on.
Sometimes having a great receiver who basically you can just chuck a ball out and he's going to bring it down.
So that was 3rd and 13? No, 3rd and 15, something like that. It was long. It was a 30-yard pass.
Yeah.
Jefferson caught with one hand between the hands of the defender and came down with it. No one thought he caught it until you saw the replay.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
It was the best catch of the season so far.
It was incredible, and although you can say, oh, he didn't get it in from there. He also probably shouldn't have got that. It was just a guy playing at his absolute peak, and those marginal gains.
Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the league this week. Right now, he is the best receiver in the league.
This season, I can't think of anyone sort of near his level. On his week, Jamar Chase, but he's injured.
Hill.
Yeah, there
Tyreek
are
Hill.
players who, from week to week, stand out, but consistently this season, it's him.
Well, they're different players.
Different
aren't they?
players, yeah.
And that's the thing. So I don't think you can sit here and say very confidently that Justin Jefferson is better than Tyreek Hill.
I will say that.
I will say this season he is better than Tyreek Hill.
That is not what the numbers say.
It doesn't matter. You asked me if I can confidently sit here and say that, and I will confidently sit here and say
James,
that.
please.
Which one would you take if you were taking one of the two?
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
I would take Tyreek Hill.
I think Jefferson's got more tools. I think Tyreek Hill he's great at what he does. He's very fast. He gets down the field. He makes good catches. I think Jefferson you can use in a number of different ways. He's more electric.
They're different players. It's comparing apples and slightly taller apples.
Pink gala apples versus French lady apples.
But they have very different uses.
At the moment,
you leave your French lady apples out.
Tyreek went into this week potentially look on to beat all records, game average for the season. So to sit there and say that Jefferson is definitely the better wide receiver, I think is.
I have no doubt.
I'm with Jim. Yeah. I think you've been shouted down on this one, Gary. You need to back down. The last
Boo.
team to win.
Fuck you, Gary.
The last team to win 7 games, to be 7-0 in a season in one-score games. You want to tell me who that was? 7-0 in a season in one-score games. It was 2009.
Someone good in 2000. Denver Broncos.
No, someone even better than that in 2009.
Patriots.
No,
He loves the Patriots.
It was the Colts who lost to the Saints in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
And Kirk Cousins, this was his 5th game-winning drive of the season, which is the most he's ever had in a season. He is playing as well as he has ever played, which is
Is he like the anti-Phillip Rivers? Like he is clutch.
So not clutch, but he's having a clutch season. So, but yeah, so more to the point was the snap was fumbled, which allowed the Vikings to recover. Was it Hendricks who dived over the pile? Everyone assumed it was a safety. And
Even the commentators.
Yes, and then when they pulled the pile apart, there was a touchdown at the bottom. It was all round a brilliant game. Dalvin Cook had an 83-yard touchdown run.
81.
81. No, his longest of the season.
When it was 83, I was impressed.
It was
81.
the second longest overall of the season.
Yeah. He's class.
His brother, not so class for the Bills, James Cooks.
5 carries to 22 yards.
Yeah, I mean, they just need a running game.
Yeah.
It's not happening, and it won't happen for them without a running game because Josh Allen is injured. He is nursing that arm injury. And the key play for him was when he threw the interception and then tried to punch the ball out of the defender's hands and then laid on the floor wringing his arm. Because which quarterback was it was saying at the weekend, you can't feel all of your fingers. You're trying to do things with your hand and you can't feel when you've got that injury.
It's the last 2 minutes of Josh Allen made me... sort of, there's glimpses there because the throw to Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is shit and bobbled it, but he still caught it.
Gabe Davis is excellent.
He's fine. Gabe Davis is a passable wide receiver too. Great. And there's good bits of Josh Allen, and you're like watching and you think, that's really good. And then there's the interceptions, and then there's every so often there's this little bit of stupid that you just can't help. It bubbles out.
Do you remember
and I do wonder if, the fact that the offense is all on him,
I'm with you on
comparable to, only maybe Kyler Murray.
I think all the running games definitely on him. But do you remember when, Josh Allen played his first playoff game against the Texans in Houston? And he had an amazing first half and then just, made a ton of mental errors. For me, it's he's improved so much since then, certainly in the passing game especially. but he's still got that capability of making those mental errors. That second interception should never have been thrown. It was terrible.
But do you not think, it reminds me of when the whole of the Ravens offense, the first 2 years it was on Lamar, but Lamar wouldn't throw the ball, whereas Josh Allen will still throw the ball.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the two. He needs to run, or he needs to take the sack if that's what's coming, but he just still wants to throw the ball. He's regressed slightly. Has he regressed to the point where the Bills aren't now one of the Super Bowl favourite 4?
Do you know what? I think it's partly to do with the fact that division has also become very tight. And you see it with all these teams that if you are winning and you get used to winning, then that really helps. Yeah, and you see teams just get better, they get more confident, and they just operate at a higher level. But then you see with this division, it's obviously tough and it's tight. And you've seen it with the Ravens a bit this year. Win, lose, tight games. And you're not seeing them going, right, they're playing out their skin, because they're worrying about getting out of the division still or winning the division. So I just don't think they get the same momentum because, the Bills are still a cracking team and most of us had them down to win the Super Bowl and not that much has changed.
No, that's fair. Best receiver ever in their first 3 years for yards?
Beckham?
Moss?
No, Randy Moss.
Okay.
Justin Jefferson needs 8 yards from the remaining games this season to beat Randy Moss's record for the first 3 years. Like, he's going to be the best receiver ever over the first 3 years to start a career. That's how good he is. It was a career high 193 receiving yards at the weekend.
The guy's a stud. And as well, like, the Hawkinson trade looks smarter.
Amazing
Every play looks...
Yeah, 7 for 45. But he's there.
That's 15 catches in 2 games he's had.
He's excellent.
Yeah. Great. I mean, that's smart from the Vikings.
Vikings have definitely got a chance now.
Vikings...
they're going to be right up there. The problem is you don't know what you're going to get when they get to the playoffs because Kirk Cousins isn't clutch.
Also, first-year head coach. How's he going to handle the pressure? We don't know. He's doing a brilliant job now at the moment, but
he could easily do a Stafford though. He could easily do a Stafford and win the one ring.
He absolutely could. Could. Right, if that was the best game, this may have been the biggest upset. Commanders 32, Eagles 21, and the undefeated Birds get shot down at home. This game was closer than the final scoreline suggests after some to-ing and fro-ing with the ball at the end as the Eagles tried to get it up the field with 0 on the clock and then got picked up. It was fumbled actually and returned. Or was it picked and returned by a big man about 5 yards out who just walked into the end zone?
Backwards and collected.
Yeah.
I don't think you can class it as a pick.
No. Riverboat Ron and Co. getting it done. And this team now has 4 wins from 5 games with Heineke under centre. Carson Wentz is due to come back after the bye, I believe.
Welcome to the bench, Carson Wentz.
Yeah, they would be foolish to replace. Now, Heineke didn't do anything in this game other than throw a pick, but the team has 10 times more energy and belief with him under centre. Like, it's just a different team. He's not a better player, but he's a better player for this team right now. It's working.
I find it hard to get excited about Heineke. I find it hard to get excited about Wentz. Let's forget a couple of, in week 1, it was Wentz who drove them down the field and won them the game.
And if you go back and listen to the podcast, I said that'll be one of 2 games this season where he plays well.
That's it. And we've had one Heineke game. I mean, it's shitty apples and shitty apples.
Don't start with that again.
But I mean, it's just one of those games. I kind of I'm glad the Eagles have lost. I think it'd be good for them to get that undefeated.
Is that a thing, or is that a myth that it's good to get the defeat out of the way?
I think it's how you. I think how you react to the loss is a big thing.
As long as they don't do what the Cardinals did this time last year.
And crater,
yeah. And the Steelers,
8-0, weren't they? The Cardinals.
Yeah.
The Steelers the year before, I think, just went off a cliff. It's how they react, and I think the Eagles are deep enough as a squad, well coached enough they'll react well. As well, the schedule is soft enough for them to have
They've got an incredibly soft schedule. I'm going to call out Robin Riviera because I think this was like the perfect game plan.
Fuck you, Ron. What?
Yeah, this was absolutely...
Meet me at the back.
So there's
a fight.
There's 2 things. One, the Eagles give a lot away on the running game. Like you look over the last few weeks, they're giving away 100 yards or 140 yards against Houston. They gave away 136 yards against Dallas, 139 against Arizona. And that's what Ron did. He ran the ball loads. He controlled the clock. The time of possession for the Commanders was 40 minutes versus 19 for the Eagles. And the thing about the Eagles is their offense is electric. Get them off the field, and that's what he did. And Commanders have played the perfect game plan for playing the Eagles. And everyone who's playing the Eagles needs to look at that and go, right, how can we mimic that? Can we mimic that? Because Brian Robinson was brilliant. He was a bulldozer in the middle. Like, at one point, there were about 4 or 5 players dragging on, and he was still going forward. So, yeah, great game plan, good win. Eagles need to, like you say, take a look at themselves and think, how can we stop that happening again?
It was just one of those games where everything went wrong for them. Like, what could go wrong went wrong.
It wasn't that bad.
Exactly, I know, but it was just...
They're just divisional games.
Yeah,
exactly.
Divisional games are more intense. The teams know each other better. When you get other teams coming up against each other, they don't know each other as well, do they? And we see this all the time. You look at the games and you go, right, well, the Eagles are beating them, they're beating them, and then they lost to the Commanders. It's like the Niners always beat the Rams at the moment. The Seahawks, no matter how bad they look, always beat the Niners.
You look at the number of plays. The Commanders are 81 to the Eagles 47.
Yeah, it's the time of possession. Like you say, that's key. 40 minutes to 19 and a half. It's just crazy that they basically kept the ball out of the Eagles' offense hands. I think it's great to see Robinson playing well. From a man who's been shot, getting 86 yards and a touchdown, I'd be delighted with that. But
if that's his reaction to being shot, I want to be shot twice.
Gibson played okay as well.
Yeah, they both did, and that is exactly what the Commanders need to do. Limit what the quarterback is asked to do. Limit the number of plays the offense is required to run for more than 5 yards. Because I think their longest gain was like 9 yards or something.
11.
Or 11 yards.
Yeah. Right. The Eagles did all turn up dressed like Cam Newton as well. Like, it's as if they're trying to buy into their own hype.
That's where it gets dangerous, isn't it? And that's,
we all remember the boat picture for Dimes.
Exactly. And it's also like it's a little bit Eagle-esque to do something like that. They've got a history of just like, we're the superstars. Remember they're the dream team of 2011. It's like they believe themselves too much. Now they are genuinely talented. It's up to their coach to bring them back down to earth. And
I'm sure they will.
Maybe the defeat has done that.
But did you see the play that effectively sealed the game?
Is this the roughing the passer?
This was the roughing the passer call. Because Heineke ran around in circles, didn't know what to do.
Gave himself up.
Knelt down, and it was an easier second later. He was hit by two Eagles players.
Brandon Graham was the one
and he
call.
immediately leapt up, signalled for the first down, and then just charged around like he'd won a playoff game. It was incredible. The Philadelphia fans not happy.
No.
But it was fair. It was the right call.
It was the right call. He was calling for the flag as they careered into it. Yeah. It was a silly move from Graham, and he owned it afterwards. But
it's just so tempted.
Yeah, of course. It's their job.
It's their job.
The adrenaline gets going, and they're just there to hit.
He said he felt like he was going to fake the knee and then get up and run. Well, they're not allowed to do that now. You cannot fake giving themselves up, so it wouldn't have mattered. But he was clearly down. Like, he had stopped.
Yeah,
so
it was a good second.
It was a poor move.
I know, but as well, like, if I'd have seen him celebrating in such a way, I'd have then probably been thrown out for absolutely destroying him. If I'm Brandon Graham, fucking hell. Can I also mention?
I'm glad John added that. I was just waiting for John to take on Tyler.
CJ Garner-Johnson, 5 picks in 5 games
after 3 in
4. I think he had 4 in his whole career at the Saints. Yeah,
it's amazing. It shouldn't be overlooked how well he is playing. Okay, elsewhere in the NFC East, the Cowboys took on the beleaguered Packers, looking to inflict a 6th straight defeat on Rodgers and co. But instead, they come up against the reigning 2-time MVP in top form and a resurgent game from elite Aaron Jones. Also, a connection with a wide receiver not called Devontae Adams.
Well, he's learned how to catch.
Well,
only in the second half.
Yeah.
So this was Christian Watkins finally showing up. He has struggled since he dropped the ball in the opening game of the season, and Aaron Rodgers basically dismissed him. I think he'd got like 6 catches on the year or something coming into this game. All of a sudden, three touchdown scores, and they didn't walk over the Cowboys, but they made it look comfortable against the Cowboys. They picked off Dak twice. everything clicked for the Packers. There's nothing to tell me they can do it week by week, but this was excellent. And if they get on a roll the opposite to what they've just been through, then they'll be back in the hunt again.
Although, this did go to overtime, did it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's against just don't forget, it was against a good Dallas team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And the Cowboys, went for it, didn't they, on 4th down,
Yeah.
rather than kicking the field goal. So that rather than putting the pressure back on Rodgers to go up the other end and score a touchdown to win it, he only had to get to the field goal range, didn't he? That was the mistake. That's why they lost this game. Mike McCarthy made the wrong call.
Yeah.
That's nothing new, though, is it?
No, it's not. but I don't come out of this thinking the Packers are back.
Strangely,
they still easily could have lost that
the
game.
Packers got rid of him because he was too conservative.
Yeah.
And then he didn't go conservative and lost the game because of it.
I agree with you to a point. I mean, I don't think you can. You can't suddenly say yes. The Packers are bad. They have to carry on and they have to go. I think there are certainly glimmers of hope in the fact that actually the game plan changed and they did decide to run the ball more often.
That's what's been missing. AJ Dillon, 13 carries for 65 yards as well.
Yeah. I mean, both of them were getting good average yards as well.
Like
Aaron Jones,
what happened in
5.8 yards a carry
in pre-season? It meant that when Aaron Jones, we're probably not going to pay you, and actually we're not going to use you. Literally, what you know?
They are using him, but they've been using him as a catcher for the last few weeks. I think they're so desperate for Rodgers to have a connection with someone. They're thinking, well, we've got Dillon as well who can run the ball. You know, we'll get Aaron Jones in like a sort of an Austin Eckler type thing, and he's great. He's just an absolutely elite running back, and it's sort of costing you games.
Yeah. And look, we've poured scorn on Aaron Rodgers for enough weeks about going to one receiver and him dropping it and then never basically outcasting him. Christian Watson did have some bad drops in that first half.
Yep.
He had 8 targets in total though. Rodgers kept going to him, and there is talent there with that wide receiver. He's very quick. And he can stretch the field, and that's what we saw on Sunday.
And the Packers, I think, are still in a playoff place at the moment, aren't they? Or one back or something?
I think they're 2 back.
Yeah.
I don't know they are in the NFC.
Are they not?
No. The NFC, I looked yesterday, it's really tight. Because, like, the Falcons, you've got, like, everybody's taking games. You've got, like, the Eagles and the Vikings and the Giants.
Yeah.
And outside of that, everybody's at 5s and because you get down to the 8 slots these days, I think the Packers are right there.
Just wait for it to load up. They are a game off. They are a game off, but they are still below Washington. They are 9th in the 7.
They are, but then in their division, you'd expect them to still come through easily second. So I think the Packers will still make the playoffs.
I mean, you have to.
Oh, you could well do, yeah.
Let's remember they also are on the same record as the Falcons and the Cardinals, who are 2 shit teams. So,
yeah, no one's saying it's fixed for the Packers, but it was at least something to be able to hang the hat on. Watson at 107 yards, then you had Watkins with 47, Alan Lazard 45. That's what they need. Mercedes Lewis with -1 yards on his 1 catch, by the way. Who knew he was still playing in 2022?
I did, because he keeps catching the ball. Coming up for a couple of catches every week for nothing.
We should mention CeeDee Lamb, 11 receptions, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. When you're talking about impressive wide receivers, his name hasn't come up much this season with the to and fro at quarterback for the Cowboys, but my word, he's an impressive player.
He's brilliant.
And the Cowboys were in this game throughout and leading at times without any hint of Zeke because he missed the game. So
he did, but
all on Pollard's shoulders. 22
it was
for
all on
115.
Pollard. It was all on Pollard, and it's fine. I think you just get a better game if you have them both.
Yes, so do I.
Yeah, Pollard is a fine running back. Zeke is now just a fine running back. If you have them both, you have quite a brilliant running game, and it's just a bit lacking without one of them. But yeah.
I mean, Cowboys' inability to stop the Packers is what cost them, right? So they had leads throughout this game. They should have put the game away.
17 unanswered points. It's the same. Well, if this was the Raiders, I'd be telling them that they should just pack up as an offense, as a team altogether. But it's the Cowboys. Just sometimes they have. I still think as well. I like Dak. I just think he's missing what it takes to be a great quarterback. I don't know. Something just.
I think he's
a brilliant. Like if it was a tiered system, he's like top of tier 2.
I think he's an upgrade on Jimmy G, but not by much at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's.
I mean, his ceiling's probably higher.
Yeah, he's coming back in from injury, but I'd just like to see a little bit more from him. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I think if it was slightly better, I think they'd have walked away with this game.
He falls into the category of you could win a Super Bowl with Dak, but he won't be the reason you win the Super Bowl. That's what he falls into, and there's probably 8 quarterbacks in that.
Yeah, I think he's in that level, isn't he, with a Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, like John said, he's the best of that bunch, but he's in with that bunch.
I would take Cousins over Dak.
I probably would as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Right,
well, at the moment,
this season I would, but
on my
career
on my quarterback rankings, Kirk is in the top tier. He is.
This is why we don't let you do them very often.
He's fucking great.
Okay,
He's brilliant.
Let's let's
Don't
look
quote me
elsewhere.
on that.
So the Cowboys lose, and that leaves the door open for the Giants to keep their noses in front in the East if they can put away the lousy Texans. Saquon showed up big and led the way as New York win 24-16, leaving Houston rooted in the first pick spot. They look hapless, but this wasn't an easier win as I thought it should have been for the Giants. Actually, the Texans hung around, made it hard work. What do you want to take from this one? Other than, I want the discussion, what are the Giants going to do about Daniel Jones? What have you seen that made you think you should keep Daniel Jones?
Well, I keep telling you, I don't think we should.
No, but has anyone got anything... they're second in the NFC right now, the Giants.
Yeah, but Daniel Jones is just what we thought about with what his ceiling is this year, which is he's a fine, sort of... backup quarterback where if he's got a good run game and a half-decent O-line in front of him, you can get some wins.
If he was backing up Josh Allen, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
You only keep him if you can't get anything better. Like, who are you going to get?
So here's the thing, right? 1,596 yards places him 23rd out of qualified quarterbacks this season. 8 touchdowns also places him 23rd out of qualified quarterbacks this season. 2 interceptions ties him for first overall with Brady.
Yep. But if you're only throwing it 17 times...
No, I agree. But the knock on him has always been turns the ball over too much. And if
it's all about Saquon.
Fumbles, though.
It's all about Saquon.
Of course
With
it is.
no Saquon, he's nothing. With Saquon, he's passable.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to save Daniel Jones' career.
That's the reality, isn't it? You cannot win games solely with Daniel Jones. If you let Saquon run the ball 30 times...
35 times.
Sorry. You only have to throw the ball 15 times and not very far. I'm surmising. Yeah.
I mean, you're not far off both times.
But the point is, if you only have to do those things, then he is passable. So it depends what Dabble wanted to do. The best thing about this game was Brian Dabble going mental on the sideline.
His O-line.
Yeah,
so the O-line had a false start penalty and he went off and then he wandered off and then he came back 5 minutes later and had another go at them. They all just sat there nodding. I love it. I think he's been brilliant. I wasn't convinced. I've already done my apology. He's been brilliant. The Giants are playing fine. It's a tricky one against the Texans because everyone knows their shit. And you're expected to steamroll them. And if you don't win it handily by 3 scores...
Not many teams steamroll the
No.
Texans. They're hanging in games quite well, considering... I know their record is terrible. But
1-7-1?
Yeah.
Oh.
But they're not getting blown out every single week. Like, they're not losing by 30, 40 points or even 20 points in most weeks. I think their biggest loss, ironically, was to the Raiders, 38-20.
Yeah. Davis Mills, 22 of 37, 319 yards. That's 120 odd more yards than Daniel Jones had. And then Damon Pierce is effectively the Saquon of the Texans, 94 yards off 17. But he also had an awful fumble. And they have to play completely mistake-free to make up for the fact they are a talent-poor team.
Yeah. And, with the Giants, we're not really very often now going to concede more than 20 points. We get to 20 points. We know we can just rely on the defense to, bend not break, be fine. We'll pick off better quarterbacks than Davis Mills.
Did you see any of the news surrounding Kenny Golladay?
Has he retired?
No, he had 2 targets, one which
not
he
by
didn't
his
get
choice.
anywhere near, and one which he managed to drop backwards,
Nice, okay.
and then was not seen again in the game. So basically zero stats other than his 2 targets.
And I'm not
What
surprised.
a waste of a talented player! Like he's just thrown a career away there.
Yeah, it's
It's clearly on him. It's not the team. He's clearly not got the right attitude because this team. Darius Slayton, it was your lead receiver. Then you had Isaiah Hodgkins and Tanner Hudson, who sound like 2 guys who should work as cleaners somewhere. Like, absolutely, Kenny Golladay should be part of this offense, and he cannot get himself mentally in the right
The sooner
space.
you get him off the books, the better.
well, because
Good luck with that, with the cost of that.
yeah.
I think it'd be worth whatever it costs to get
worth
rid of him.
doing.
At
So,
wide
yeah.
receiver, they'll just leave him sat there. They will.
Any reason?
I don't think they can. I think because of the injury issues, I think we need to free up some cap space this year. So he's either got to sign a new deal,
I bet the dead
which he
money's
probably
pretty,
won't.
I bet the dead money's pretty bad on that.
Well, but yeah, it's
You paid him handsomely, didn't you?
we did, but and we're not the only ever team in the league to have played a wide receiver handsomely for very little return.
You
but
will eat $35.6 million in dead money. Fuck yeah!
I told you. He ain't go nowhere.
But yeah, no.
You're
Do
going to be wearing Golladay shirts for at least another
you want to speak into the mic, Gary?
You're going to be wearing Golladay shirts for at least another year.
So leaning
Angry
back in
John.
satisfaction.
And then he also put his head about. Just speak into the
If
mic.
you type in
It's a
Kenny
podcast.
Golladay dead money into Google, the first thing that comes up is the problem with Kenny
Yeah.
Golladay is he runs routes like a mannequin, which is a beautiful way of saying he's crap.
Yeah,
He's appalling.
he's the last holdover of that last regime's bad decision making.
Yeah,
The thing is,
him and Adoree Jackson
Yeah.
were the big money last throw of the dice from Gettleman.
At least Adoree
And Adoree
Jackson's
Jackson's
decent.
turning up now. He looks like he's
do you
got
not think
the right.
if Golladay went somewhere else, he would actually be quite good again? No, there's
No, he possibly could be. He has proved he's talented in the past. Something's just not working there, and I'm not saying he will be.
You know
there.
where he's
I'm
going to
just
end. He's
saying-
going to end up either at the Raiders because they take a flyer on anybody that's not behaved,
Or the Rams.
or the Patriots, where Belichick will say, "Oh, if we can get him on the cheap and see if we can turn him into something good." That's the sort of player they end up with. Right, let's look around the rest of the AFC South now, starting with the improbable news that Jeff Saturday was in charge of the Colts as they took on the Raiders, following the sacking of Frank Reich early last week. Saturday is the interim head coach for the 8 remaining games, and his first decision was to replace Ellinger with Matt Ryan, who Frank Reich was told he couldn't start. So not quite sure why Saturday was allowed to reverse that decision, which Jim Irsay had taken, we're led to believe, not Frank Reich.
You've got to be pissed off if you're Frank Wright.
Of course you
Alright,
have.
Apart from the fact that you're
I
sitting
mean, he was
there asking
already
to
a
pay.
dead man walking.
He was a dead man walking, but at least give him a chance to keep his job. Right.
It's a strange one.
The whole thing
But-
around this. Look, I don't disagree with getting rid of Frank Reich. He was, like you say, dead man
it wasn't
walking.
working,
It wasn't working. But then the whole decision then to hire Jeff Saturday, the offensive coordinator who was an assistant
Parks.
head coach,
Yeah.
and
30-year-old play caller. Jeff Saturday
Matt Ryan back.
Jeff Saturday didn't call a play on Sunday.
That's fine.
Didn't call a play. He left it to the others. That's fine.
That's sometimes how a head
But
coach
what he did is he walked around the sideline and just picked everyone up and threw him back out there. Matt Ryan, 21 of 28, 222 yards and a touchdown. Comfortably his best game in a year and a half. Right? Because the O-line stood up and protected him.
Finally.
And he got the ball out on time, and all of it was set up by the fact that Jonathan Taylor had his best game of the season.
Finally showed up as well,
147
yeah.
yards on 22 carries and a touchdown. And Matt Ryan also rushed for a touchdown. Four rushes for
Matt
38
Ryan had like a
yards.
39-yard
That's
rush.
not rush. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. His long was 39. He then lost a yard on the other 3. But they got Jeff Saturday got what he needed out of players. Now they might not play that well again all season because that shine tends to disappear pretty quickly. But he picked them up and he made you remember that you just replaced a former MVP with a guy who couldn't get into the starting lineup when he came out of college. Like, it was offensive to put Matt Ryan on the bench. They were 3-3-1 with Matt Ryan playing okay behind a terrible O-line. And they benched him for no reason. Like, it wasn't on him. No one was watching it thinking, the problem here is that guy behind centre. Like, we know he's a bit of a statue, but this is the most expensive O-line in the game. They should be doing a better job. And then he is good enough.
You don't get to play the Raiders every week, though.
You do not get to play the Raiders every
as
week.
much as everyone would like to, because they are absolutely.
Let's talk about this.
useless.
The Raiders are 2-7.
And I said that in the mic.
Josh McDaniels, this is the worst second coming since Coke changed to New Coke. You wondered what I was going to say then, didn't you? You have no idea the things I got rid of the list of things I wasn't allowed to say. You have no idea.
I'm trying to think of second childs I really don't like.
You have absolutely no idea. Yeah, I'll tell you that. Some of them were appalling. I'd cross them all out and start again. But it's over. It's surely, you know,
I was just looking at Jeff Saturday's Twitter feed, and there was a tweet from the week before going, Raiders look horrible.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Shows how our minds work. I was trying to remember if Hitler had an older brother.
Apparently he did tweet that out and then went and beat them, which shows you that the Raiders couldn't even pin that up on the wall and say, look what this guy says about us.
Team just looks
They've
beaten.
got nothing. Derek Carr came out and cried in the press
They
conference
look
afterwards.
beaten. Like not just beaten on the field. They just look beaten and defeated. And
It's over from
miserable,
McDaniels.
and there's no team chemistry. There's no electricity amongst the team at all. They look beaten.
I spent my day on Saturday with a very drunk Raiders fan who was baying for McDaniel's blood if they lost on Sunday.
But how?
He wants him gone. He wants him gone now, not end of the season.
You've
now.
got Derek Carr, who's a top half of the league
Yep.
quarterback. You've got Josh Jacobs, who's a top edge of the top 10 running back.
I'd put him
You've
top
got Devontae Adams, who's been the best wide receiver in the league and has the potential to be. You've had Waller at tight end, now admittedly not there at the moment. And then you've got a defense made up of pieces that you could get stuff out of. Max Crosby, Jayon Brown. You've got Trevor Murring, who I like. You've got enough pieces. Rock your sin.
Yeah.
And yet, nothing is going right for the Raiders.
Chandler Jones, who until recently, until he moved to the Raiders, was getting like 10, 15 sacks a season.
Absolutely. It's crazy how much they've gone off a cliff. No one expected them to walk through this division that they're in, but no one thought they would be 2-7.
Right, so the biggest difference for me is, and I mean, you said it at the end of last season, why not give the temporary coach
Rich Bisaccia?
Yeah, who got them to, did he get to the playoffs? I can't remember if they in the playoffs or not.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they made the playoffs.
He got them into the playoffs. Give him a chance, because at least he brought that team together and actually got them playing.
They got in the playoffs, and then they added Devontae Adams to win
Chandler
2 games.
And they just look dejected. There's no team chemistry there anymore. They look like they.
Derek Carr has completely lost it with this team.
I
heard his interview, and he just seems like he's on the edge of a cliff.
I don't think not keeping Bisaccia was that dumb a move. There's something about interim coaches that can come in.
It's true.
And they can galvanise a weak team. And then you look at football examples. Burnley last year, the interim manager comes in, they galvanises them, and then suddenly they reach a limit and gone.
I was going to use Roberto Di
Matteo. There's a really great Sunderland example where
I think it's good about Sunderland.
Well, they got to the FA Cup semi-final in the 90s and made him the head coach. And then the form just went completely off the cliff and ended up losing the FA Cup final. But it happens. But bringing Josh McDaniels, it looked at the time, you go on it just felt wrong, and it isn't working. I'm amazed his key card worked in the facility yesterday.
Mark Davis has come out and given assurances McDaniels will be the head coach in 2023.
Yes, of death, that is.
That's what he keeps saying.
It's crazy. Look, McDaniels is one of these, we say it every other week, he's a great coordinator who isn't a good head coach. Frank Reich is probably the same.
If you were looking at what McDaniels has done with the Patriots, do some of the fact that they've got a lot of players on long-term deals. So you've got Carr, you've got Renfro, Waller, etc. Who would they be the type of players you'd expect in the Patriots sort of way they run their offense? Is the team just wrong for him?
Maybe.
Good coach makes the best what he's what.
Well, exactly, yeah. But we're seeing he's not a good coach.
So here's the thing. here's the thing reported by the reporters on the ground in Las Vegas is that whilst the fans and some of the backroom staff would like to see Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh in silver and black, Mark Davis reportedly can't afford to continue paying out the contract of John Gruden and then buy McDaniels out of his contract. So he has to leave him in place for next season.
Didn't Gruden resign, though?
Then he went and sued them to get money. So Davis can't pay for all these contracts. So it's difficult for him to move on from McDaniels. And that is a genuine issue. I don't know if there's anyone else on the roster. Rich Bisaccia, I don't even know if he's still there.
He's not.
I don't think he is.
Green Bay.
Yeah, he moved.
Teams.
So it probably is McDaniels for the rest of the season, but there's nothing. This team's had 2 winning seasons since 2002.
It's not this season that bothers me. This you can write off this season. You can go, well, this is a learning experience. Are you going to tell me that, in that division alone, the Broncos aren't going to be as bad next year? I'm sure if they look at they'll look at the ball bollock they've got running them and go, let's fucking change that. Someone who can unlock Russell Wilson and a star defense with some extra picks. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, and the Chargers will eventually
they blow hot and cold,
but
they'll be better than the Raiders.
They are tripping over themselves at the moment with injuries as well.
So you're suggesting it will still only be 2 winning seasons since 2002 at the end of next year?
Yeah,
and that is the problem. There is no hope.
They've gone all in. They've gone all in this year with reflective shades on. It's absolutely bizarre.
All right. Speaking of teams that are rubbish, the Jags entered their games against the Chiefs riding high after overcoming the aforementioned Raiders last week, but it was penalties and sacks that stopped them being truly competitive at Arrowhead as they lost 17-27. Lawrence at least showed some poise, but he is no Mahomes at the moment. No one is. The Jags were in the game.
Yeah, I thought the Jags were fine. It's a bit harsh calling them rubbish. They've just lost to probably... We'll come into power rankings later, but I'd be surprised if anyone's got the Chiefs outside the top 3 at the moment.
Yeah, they're 3-7, and would you? And it's another, it's another game where they were sort of competitive, but it's not like the opposition blowing the doors off. The defense are doing okay, but the offense isn't getting it done.
There's a massive rebuild to be done.
Yeah,
and
it's ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think they're doing just as expected this year, and I think next year you'll see them move on. And I think they've got a coach that they're going to stick with. You can see it's going to come together.
I can see John shaking his head, and I'm with John. I think if they don't finish somewhere in the region of 8 and 9, Pedersen will be really disappointed in this season.
I think
they've got the talent.
I think that's
they've got the talent to do it, and they're in an easy division.
Like which wide receivers are talented there?
Yeah. Christian Kirk's having a brilliant season. Come on now.
Like, he's okay.
Yeah, he's okay, but he's having a brilliant season for Christian Kirk.
But he's also won more money than Kenny Golladay. He should be having a fucking brilliant.
A lot of money on him, but they probably overpaid to get into the Jags.
Get into the Jags.
Yeah.
So he's good, but he's not.
He's
amazing.
the 11th rated overall wide receiver this season
because there's no one else to pass to.
Yeah, fine.
Zay Jones gets about 25.
Marvin
yards
Jones always comes up with one great catch.
That's what I mean. It's like there is nobody else.
There's talent there. It isn't. League
Didn't
leading.
we give out an award one year for like how shit everything is?
He got the Eric Ebron participation trophy.
That's my point. Yes, he like my point is you don't look at their squad and go elite. They're going to be just around 500. You don't think that. That's absolute rubbish.
I think 8 or 9 wins is absolutely astronomical. I think if they went into the season 5 or 6, I think that's a good season.
I don't think someone like Doug Pedersen goes in and thinks we're only winning 5 games.
Of
course he doesn't. No.
And I think he'll be really disappointed with what he's seen.
Well, a coach has to be optimistic and they have to be thinking about, we want to win 17 games.
But we're not coaches, so we can be realistic.
We can be realistic and go, winning 5 or 6 games after the season they had last year with all that turmoil and effectively rebuilding around a rookie quarterback, 5 or 6 wins, I think, is a decent result for them this year.
I think it's really disappointing.
No,
but me and Griff have watched them live. They are anemic a lot of the time on off. They move the ball. They move the ball really slowly, and it's really boring to watch.
Well, off the pitch, their profit streams are doing very well.
Are they?
One of the most profitable teams at the moment.
Are they?
Jags, yeah.
Good for bully for them.
I'm just trying to put some positivity back into this podcast.
But they got 3 takeaways this week.
Yeah.
Like
So
2
did I.
touchdowns, and they still lost.
And they started the game with the ball as well. They got an extra possession because they went onside kick from kickoff, and then did nothing with it.
But still,
And yet twice they had 4th and short and didn't go for it. And it's like, come on now, what kind of mixed message is that sending? And it's because they don't trust the players. It's very.
There just seemed a distinct lack of trust with the offense to, pull them out of, the situations the Jags are going to find themselves in.
Yeah.
I think they're mightily disappointing. I was sort of hopeful on a worst to first thing for the Jags in what is proved to be a really weak division, apart from the Tetons. And they're just...
I'm with John. I thought they'd been much better than this season. I really did. I think it's been very disappointing so far.
And I love it because I fucking hate the Jags. But it's still really disappointing.
Juju Smith-Schuster ruled out this game early with a concussion, did the proper fencing response and everything. The hands went. Was not good. Kadarius Toney showed up, though.
Yeah.
5 receptions, 57 yards, a touchdown.
He's a talented athlete.
He's a great...
He even had
you
time.
can keep him fit.
Yeah.
Did you
just
see
didn't wanna be in New York.
mid-catch down the field, he adjusted his gloves with the ball already in the air. He started adjusting them to make sure he was going to catch it with the defender draped on him.
The
use him
guy's
properly,
talented.
He's
Yeah.
an excellent
He could be
player.
an absolute steal.
Yep, agreed. And Isaiah Pacheco played okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to prove that I could say his name
Yeah, I
this
know.
week.
Mahomes for MVP at the moment.
Yeah. Probably.
I don't think he'll win it.
Who would win it at the moment then?
Who would win it at the moment? I'm going to leave that till later. I think you'll see. I don't think it'll be him.
That's not in our power rankings.
No, it's not in our power rankings. I just think, at the moment, I did a quick look at my MVP ratings, and he was only 3rd for me. Third. Because the bar for Mahomes, it's a bit like Aaron Rodgers. There was a period where Aaron Rodgers could have won it 7 years straight, but he didn't because people go, well, he hasn't eclipsed last year. So
Well, he hasn't won it for 2 years.
No. So I'm just saying, look, Aaron Rodgers didn't win it at all in that period. But I'm just saying, it's like I don't know. I don't think it'll be him. I'll just leave that one where it is for now because we can do an MVP ranking next week if you like.
Yeah.
And then we'll see.
Let's do that.
There's some big buy, quite a couple of buys. We've got some time to fill next week.
Excellent. Can we decide to do it right at the last minute though?
Yeah, cool. Of course we can. Right, rounding out the AFC South, the Tetons, who emerged victorious over the Broncos in a game that started with 9 consecutive punts, 17 in total, and only served to remind us that Russell Wilson is a shadow of his former self, unable to generate points, evade pressure, or force teams to account for his running abilities. The return of Tannehill was key for the Titans, who wrapped up the game 17-10, something they likely would have failed to do with Malik Willis under centre. This was rubbish.
It's a horrible game.
Oh my
Such a
Christ,
terrible
what a
game.
terrible game. We are not spending long on this one. What do you do if you're the Broncos? Like
Sack
they beat
Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, they beat the Jags by virtue of the fact the Jags couldn't beat a drum. That's it. They've got nothing. Russell Wilson, terrible.
The thing is, how many teams are going to hold Derrick Henry to 50-something yards
None.
and
They
lose?
have got an elite defense. They're not conceding more than I think they're averaging 15 odd points a game.
It's brilliant.
If Vic
And they
Fangio
can't
was
score.
running this team, do you think Russell Wilson would be playing better?
No, he's busted.
No, I think
I genuinely don't know. I don't have
I don't
the
know.
opinion. I'm just asking the question.
I think there's more out of Russell Wilson than they're getting out of him,
Yeah.
which is nothing. But yeah, no,
He's
it's
busted.
Did you ever think you'd see the day when Russell Wilson had 7 carries for 8 yards?
Yeah, because he's busted. Like, honestly, I thought he was busted at the end of last season. And I still think he's busted. I don't think he's as agile as he used to be. He's a good passer, but I just think he's one of them players that, like we talked with Cam, and he wasn't, he did run the ball a lot. He scrambled a lot. And he can't do those things. I honestly don't believe he can now. And he is not Tom Brady. He is not all about being in the pocket. So, and he hasn't got enough around him at wide receiver again. So, yeah.
I'm
he's
inclined
bust.
to
He's
agree with
bust.
Gary.
And Javonte Williams isn't there to run the ball for him. He's like, with what the setup they've got on offense, he's bust. And he's just going to keep getting hurt. And if he keeps getting hurt, how many years did he get beaten up in Seahawks with no O-line?
10.
You can't just do that forever.
No,
the
that's-
Seahawks moved on at the right time.
Yeah, they
Pete
did.
Carroll looked and went, I think he might be done.
In his 8 starts this season, how many times has he thrown more than one touchdown?
Once.
Against. We've mentioned them how terrible they are already.
Jaguars?
No, the Raiders.
Ah.
But fair enough.
And they still lost that game.
Well, good news, they're playing the Raiders next week.
Yeah, but twice he's failed to throw a touchdown, and he's actually thrown more interceptions in doubles than he has touchdowns. It's crazy. 7 touchdowns is all he's got this season, Russell Wilson. 7 touchdowns. It's like it's somehow like they traded away Drew Lock to get Russell Wilson, but secretly kept Drew Lock. It's awful. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing redeeming. Again, John said about the Jags. Well, we watched the Broncos. You couldn't have told me the Broncos deserved to win that game.
I think they did in the second half. I thought they were better because
He had one good throw. Russell Wilson.
yeah, but that was still more than
Russell
Lawrence
Wilson
had.
didn't deserve to win that game. The team played better.
The
but
defense
he did
shows
not.
up,
He didn't play better
week
than
in, week
Trevor
out.
Lawrence. Yeah, absolutely.
and
It's wasted on Russell Wilson, and I thought it would be the other way around. I thought he was going to be bitching.
well, so
saying
did
there's
I.
not
I
enough
thought
round.
I got them down for a deep playoff run.
I did not.
which-
I had them down to finish last, and then the Raiders are going to blow that for me. But
You know, we're all looking stupid right now. But yeah,
you always look stupid.
yeah.
Right, that's enough for that. Take us to the break. Welcome back. Let's talk about one of the best teams in football and hint towards the power rankings to come. It's the Miami Dolphins blowing the doors off the Browns 39-17, outscoring them 20-3 in quarters 2 and 3, gaining 2 additional yards per play and having 5 different touchdown scorers. This was the consummate performance from the Finns, and they serve to underline just how good this team is right now. Better than the Bills? Maybe. Able to take on the Chiefs? Maybe. What do you guys think? And how much difference is it going to make when Deshaun Watson comes back, bearing in mind he hasn't played for nearly 2 years?
Can we start with the Dolphins?
Yeah.
That's the more cheerful side of it. I think no team in the AFC will want to play the Dolphins in the playoffs. Like they're scoring for fun at the moment. I think the addition of Jeff Wilson at running back looks like a masterstroke because now he's adding even more depth to their running game and had a great start to his career.
Mostart's doing more now.
Mostart is
Wilson's
doing
there.
more. Yeah,
They're playing with their coordinator from last year, aren't they?
Yeah,
So which
yeah,
helps,
exactly.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does help.
He knows the players. They know what he wants.
But
Happy days.
Even look at how you'd think that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle would be dominating the receiving stats, and most of the time they are. But the ball's being spread across other receivers as well.
Yeah,
Trent Sherfield, Alex Ingold, Gesicki, Wilson and Mostert are both getting in on the act as well. This is a team that's going to, the more cohesion they have and the more time they have together, they're going to be really hard to defend against.
When their defense is good.
Yeah,
And
if
they
Bradley
made
Chubb-
good acquisition.
if Bradley
Chubb
Chubb
made
picks it up.
such a difference to that defense. It's made such a difference.
Like if you're
Pressure.
if you want to
makes
take one
everything else
yeah,
easier, doesn't it?
If you want to take one of the receivers out of the game, which one are you going to take out? Because it doesn't matter because the other one will just pipe up.
So
Good fun.
Tua has won every game he has started and finished.
Mm-hmm.
He has the 5th highest passer rating in NFL history over the course of the season. The players ahead of him have all won Super Bowls. One of them has 2 of the top 4 highest passer rating seasons, and then the other 2 have single season each. Would you like to try and name them?
Breeze,
Manning.
No. Which one?
Peyton.
Yes.
Rodgers.
Yes.
Brady.
Rodgers twice. Brady, no.
So we need one more, don't we?
You need one more.
Super Bowl winning.
Steve Young.
Aaron Rodgers twice. Peyton Manning once. Not Steve Young.
Russell Wilson.
No.
Joe Flacco.
No.
Give us an era. Modern era.
Last 10 years.
Last 10 years, all right.
Oh.
Luck. No,
No.
no one.
Stafford.
No.
Not that
Improbable.
Mahomes.
No.
Improbable.
Improbable. Easy for you to say.
Trent Dilfer.
No. Last 10 years. Behave.
Foles.
Nick Foles is the other one. Well done, John. Tua also leads the NFL in pass yards per attempt with 9.1, passing touchdown to interception ratio 18-3, and passer rating 118.4. He's second overall in completion percentage, and all of those would set Dolphins single season records, beating Dan Marino. That is
Got an
crazy.
extra game, though, isn't
He then finally has become the only player other than Marino to throw for 3 touchdowns in 3 consecutive games as a Dolphins starter. He is lighting the season up. and that is why he would be my MVP right now. I understand the arguments for and against, but I have really enjoyed watching him because he is really a limited system quarterback who's just making the most of what he's got.
I don't think he is.
I think he's better than that.
I think he's better. I see a lot of Drew Brees in him.
But do you remember how close this team came to trading for Deshaun Watson? And this is making that decision. And the fact that he's not gone to them, they've come out of this
Smelling of roses.
whilst the other team
They also
stink
stink
of
of
shit.
Brady as well.
Well, the thing as well,
By
like,
selling him half the team.
everyone forgets as well, they've lost a draft pick, the first round draft pick next year for their own
Tampering.
thing. And
What did you lose for tampering?
It's
Just-
freedom.
fucking hell.
I know. The only knock
What the
on
fuck's this about, that?
No means no, John.
You delayed the podcast for a safety poo. Come on. Right. The only knock on Tua.
That is true. But I also don't tamper with women. Fuck off.
Fair. The only knock on Tua has always been fitness. Right. He was in Alabama. He was a good quarterback, and the only reason he didn't go number one in the draft was because he had a very serious injury. He still went top 10.
It was tanked for Tua.
It was
remember?
tanked for Tua. He was a good quarterback in Alabama. None of that's changed. He's a good quarterback. He's always been very accurate. Probably not as mobile as he once was before his hip injury. But it's always been a case of, okay, his first two years have that injury thing hanging over him. He's injury free. All right, take concussion. That's nothing.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
That's unfortunate. I don't think you can connect that to anything else. He's in a system where it is quarterback friendly because the Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan system really is quarterback friendly, and he's got some superstar wide receivers playing with him. Like, he should be doing well. He is doing well. Really happy to see it, and I like it when these storage franchises like the Dolphins, who have had a really bad run of form, suddenly their fan base gets excited again. And it's great to see it. I'd love to see the Dolphins in the Super
And as well,
Bowl.
it's food. It's not. It's smart player acquisitions, but also, they've got the right coach seemingly at the right time at the moment. I didn't have them top of my power rankings, mainly because I think you could play a team better than the Browns. I still think the Dolphins will need to score over 30 points a game. And I think in the playoffs, that's where it will hit them.
Yeah.
But also in the playoffs, I wouldn't want to play them because you're also going to have to score 30 to 40 points to just stay with them.
Yeah.
I mean, Waddle got 60-something yards. Tyreek Hill got a touchdown and 40-something yards. And they still got 39 points.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What's not to love?
No, it's brilliant.
It was perfect.
They are the most fun team to watch in the NFL this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Quickly touching upon the Browns, which is what John was doing at the break as well. Thank you. The only reason I mentioned the Watson is because it's coming. It's only 2 weeks away.
That's what she said.
He's training.
Not.
He's training now.
He's training now. Wow.
Look, I don't think Jacoby Brissett's been terrible, but he is Jacoby Brissett.
We've hardly spoken about
Yeah, and that's fine. No,
he's done very little.
He's done very little, good or bad. It's just been very much Jacoby Brissett. But everyone seems to think, listening to the media, that Deshaun Watson's going to come in and light this up straight away. There's a very real possibility they don't win any games with him under centre.
Yeah.
This season.
I mean,
Because
his first game is against the Texans.
Yeah, and you'd think he's going to win that, which would get him off the slide straight away.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be amazing if he didn't win that?
You know what? Everyone in the world, bar Cleveland fans, and probably a few Cleveland fans, are going to be supporting the Texans in that game, aren't they?
Do you reckon they'll put it on?
Yeah.
You reckon they'll put the game on?
100%.
Wow.
Why wouldn't you? It's box office.
Yeah.
Morals.
It's NFL.
If they cared, they'd have banned him for 13 games.
What TV network isn't want to show this game nationwide?
There are some easy games once he's back, by the way. So Texans, then Bengals and Ravens, not so much. Saints and Commanders and Steelers. He could win none or four of those games.
Okay. I mean, though Steelers and Saints are two of the most inconsistent teams I think in the season. easier than those. Same with the Commanders as well, really.
I mean, the Steelers never really need much
Motivation
to hurt a quarterback for the Browns. And Watt's coming back to fitness, isn't it?
What I haven't understood about this Browns team is how are they 3-6? It's not okay. You haven't got the guy who's supposed to be the franchise quarterback, but Jacoby Brissett's one of the better backups. You've got the best running back top 3 running back in the league. You've got a decent wide receiver room.
Is it?
You've got a decent defense.
I don't like that wide receiver room at all.
Mari Cooper and
I know you
others.
like Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Like, I don't.
They've got nothing out of Kareem Hunt, which I think has really hurt them this year.
I'm surprised they haven't traded him. Surprised they didn't trade him.
Count Doku.
Count Dooku's now injured. He's on
yeah.
IR now, I believe.
So I mean, I don't think there's a lot to throw at.
They beat the Panthers in week 1. They beat the Steelers in week 3. And at that point, I think TJ Watt might have already been out. And then they got a fluke win against the Bengals the other week, somehow winning that 32-13, which I still don't understand.
Defense. They just walked straight through their O-line. That's what happened. It had nothing to do with that. That was all it was. It was just a small field position.
Yeah. Other than that,
Myles Garrett basically just decided to just rip it up in that game.
well, he needs to do that a bit more. But yeah, they've now got the Bills and the Bucks before Watson comes back. So yeah, they're going to be 3-9.
It feels that way. Okay. Defeat for the Browns sees the Steelers able to close the gap in the AFC North as they get TJ Watt back and overpower a truly woeful Saints 20-10. Dennis Allen is struggling, Andy Dalton is struggling, and Alvin Kamara is struggling. The Saints D showed up big, but the offense for so long, their strength was dire. As for the Steelers, Pickett ain't perfect, but he's growing, and it's a good thing that they've left him out on the field. No, it's a good thing that they've left him out on the field, as Jim has often said. Got to let him play. Some of it's ugly, some of it's good, and he will only continue to improve. I don't think they care what the final result is this season, but Tomlin could lose 3 straight seasons and not be under too much pressure, I think. But for the Saints, this season terrible. Why are they sticking with Andy Dalton? Anyone?
Bad coaching.
Because I know Jameis is boom or bust, but at least you get the boom. Andy Dalton,
you're not getting any boom.
No boom at all. Nobody wants the boom from Andy Dalton.
No.
No.
They're obviously seeing stuff in practice from Jameis they don't like. The coach obviously doesn't fancy him.
Just doesn't trust him.
Yeah,
but many coaches haven't trusted him, and that's fine, but you still know he can deliver 30 touchdowns a season. Andy Dalton couldn't deliver 13.
Well, no, Dalton will look good for 3 or 4 games coming in as a backup because I think that is sadly his level now. Like, he's been a backup for 3 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years now.
It's too long out of time being a starter. And I know, like, Geno Smith has come in and done whatever. It's so rare that these stories happen. Yeah. That's why we still keep talking about Geno Smith. I'm sorry, but
I don't want to talk about Geno Smith.
Well, we've spent a lot of time talking about Geno Smith this year, haven't we? But, like, that's it. I'd think if the Saints want to have a chance, you've got to give a chance to Jameis.
I think you've got to put Jameis in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't help that they are missing some big players on their offense. Also, but still.
Big players on the team aren't performing. Alvin Kamara's had a real mess season again.
It's not been a good season.
I mean, it's having this type of season where Jim has picked him up fantasy.
I picked him for another team.
There's the jinx.
So there it is.
Jarvis Landry's back. Chris Olave has looked good in fits and starts, but he hasn't put a whole game together.
But look who's throwing to him.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we could. I'd hope that Jameis could unlock him. I think he could.
I think there's a good chance. The
more than you're going to get from Dalton.
Don't forget as well, when they won games earlier in the season, Michael Thomas was playing.
Yeah.
And then he mysteriously got injured again. He's gone. You may never see him play for the Saints again. I think it's done.
Isn't his last year in his contract this year?
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to play for anyone. I just think he's not interested.
Someone will give him a go.
Yeah, but I don't think he's interested. He didn't look at that interested.
Maybe he's not interested in New Orleans. Maybe he's done. He's
look at it. It looks absolutely fucking toxic there.
But I never understood the Cowboys receiver who
Des Bryant.
Des Bryant. That's who he reminds me of. The end of Des Bryant's career. where you just kept thinking he was going to come back, and then he never came
He did
back.
came back. He came back very quietly with the Ravens and
did
was rubbish.
nothing.
Yeah, it does. It feels like that. Absolutely. He just fizzled out and slowly disappeared.
Well, no, because for a couple of years, Des Bryant had not been catching passes from Dak. When Thomas is in, he looks 3/4 of the Michael Thomas who was,
Like 2 games in a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's not been good.
But when I know hasn't played much, but yeah, I think there's still a player there, and someone would take a chance. I'll take a fucking chance on Michael Thomas.
I'm in the Giants team.
Okay, so let's look at the Steelers quickly. Kenny Pickett, 18 of 30, 199 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Sacked 6 times, which is what I mean about the Saints' defense did its job. He was sacked 6 times. He did have a rushing touchdown, which he has looked good on the ground this season. So much more mobile than Big Ben. It's ridiculous. But so are you, Jim.
I was going to say.
Najee Harris put up a decent game, 5 yards a carry, 99 yards, which they need. There's been talk and more talk about Jalen Warren taking over as the lead back. 38 attempts for 190 yards on the season at 5 yards a carry. I actually think it's a really good 1-2 punch, like we were saying earlier with Jones and Dillon, and Zeke and Pollard. I think teams need this now. I don't think you can just lean on one running back now. It's just not a thing. But it's tough to see the Steelers winning a lot of games this way. If they win 6 games this season, I think they'll be lucky. And that probably isn't going to be enough to elevate them off the bottom of the AFC North, which is where they sit right now, behind even Cleveland. It's going to be tricky for them this year. Well, it's a rebuild.
Yeah, it is a rebuild year, more ways than one. I think give Kenny Pickett a year's experience, see what you've actually got there, bring him back next year, build the offensive line. Because the offensive line's terrible, and that's a big reason why Najee Harris doesn't get any yards. So you're going to get a high draft pick, right? So build the offensive line, get the best offensive tackle you possibly can out of the draft, and actually see what you got. The defense is still good. If Kenny Pickett comes back next year with a Josh Allen level improvement,
they could bounce back very quickly.
They're back in this in this division.
Yeah, I don't hate what the Steelers are doing.
No, I don't.
In 42 games as a head coach, 46 games as a head coach, how many wins does Dennis Allen have?
8.
46 games as a head coach.
13.
10.
Any more? It's 11. But it's 11. He went 4-12, 4-12, 0-4 with Oakland, and then he's 3-7 with the Saints. I do not understand why they gave him the job. It's another one. I just don't get it.
You look at the first-year head coaches, and I know Dennis Allen's had coach experience before, but like Mike McDaniel, Brian Dable, and the lad there at Minnesota.
Kevin O'Connell.
Thank you. All doing brilliant.
The lad there.
All doing brilliantly.
Jeff Saturday.
And then you've got Josh McDaniels, Dennis Allen.
Brilliant coordinators, by the way.
Brilliant coordinators.
Terrible head coaches.
And Nathaniel Hackett as well.
Yep.
Not getting the job. It's a coin flip, isn't it?
It's not good. It's not good at all. Right. Who sits atop the NFC South right now? At 5-5, it's the Bucs. Brady and co travelled to Germany for the first ever NFL game in Munich. And it was an entertaining game. They stopped the feel-good Seahawks 21-16. Tampa managed to shut down Kenneth Walker and forced Geno to make plays, which he actually nearly managed. But in the end, Tom Teutonic said, 9. Can the Bucs build momentum? There you go. Got some German in there and everything. What do you think? Chances are the Bucs are going to make the playoffs. Is it going to be worth them making the playoffs?
Chances are they are going to make the playoffs. They're going to win that division.
We weren't guaranteeing that 2 weeks ago.
No, you're right, we weren't, but it's a terrible division.
It
is awful. But will the Bucs be capable of winning 2 games in the postseason?
No.
I don't think so either. It feels like a lost season for them, even though they're going to make the playoffs.
Just don't know the playoff.
The game was fine. The atmosphere was amazing.
Apparently they reckon they could have sold 1 million tickets.
Really?
There was 1 million ticket inquiries. Yeah.
Wow.
So they've. It's interesting. There's a lot of people saying we should take the Super Bowl to Germany because the atmosphere was just ridiculous.
Apparently so.
They were singing songs. The whole stadium was like singing songs and stuff before the game even started. Sounds like they just went absolutely crazy
Sounds
for
like
it.
they were fucking drunk.
Sounds great.
It does sound great, yeah.
Munich is a great weekend. We should do this.
We have been to Munich. At one point, I said on the weekend we went to Munich, let's go watch some football. And everyone went, no.
I was well up for the football.
Yeah.
Everyone else wanted to get drunk.
Well, everyone else wanted to go to an Irish bar and watch rugby because we're in Munich. So why don't you go to the Irish bar?
It was Paddy's. There we go.
Anyway,
Story for another day.
Leonard Fournette picked off on his one pass attempt, by the way. A pass attempt to Tom Brady, who slipped.
That was brilliant.
The whole thing was laughable. But Brady, 22 of 29, 258, 2 touchdowns and a pick. The lead rusher for Tampa, actually, was Rashad White, 22 carries, 105 yards. Leonard Fournette, I don't know.
Look,
Playoff Lenny.
Maybe.
no, he's
okay.
the LeGarrette Blunt of this team.
Yeah.
Like, if you're 5
He's the
yards,
hammer.
if you're 5 yards from the
He
goal
didn't
line,
look very sharp.
you give it to Leonard Fournette.
Hammers
Anyway-
aren't sharp. Hammers are blunt. That's the point.
They haven't got a point.
Yeah. That's the point of a fucking hammer.
Paul is gutted. He's
You're thinking of a pick. That's what you're thinking of.
Paul would literally have loved that. So.
Yeah. Where was it? Yeah. Anywhere else in the field, just give it to Rashad White because he's playing much better.
Yeah.
This is your Zeke Pollard
Yeah.
combination.
Bucks defense first to shut down Kenneth Walker III since he took over from Rashad Penny at the end of week 4.
Yeah, he had a terrible game.
Yeah, it's 10 carries for 17 yards. He did have 6 receptions for 55, but the run game never got going for the Seahawks, and this will always hamper Geno. Let's be honest, he's played well. He's an extremely limited quarterback, and without a running game, a bit like we were saying earlier with Daniel Jones, without Saquon, Daniel Jones is nothing. Without a running game, Geno Smith is not going to win games. It's just a given. It's fine. He's a game manager. That's perfectly okay. DK Metcalf, he was fine as well, 71 yards. Tyler Lockett, 42. They distributed the ball very well, but they never looked explosive at all on offense, the Seahawks, which is the first time most of the season that's been the case because they didn't have a star running back. Don't forget how good Rashad Penny was playing before he got injured.
Yeah.
This is how you beat the Seahawks. You limit the running game and you make Geno win the game, and he probably isn't going to do it.
No, 1 for 9 off third down. It's pretty poor.
The way you've beaten the Seahawks for 15 years,
Fair.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the 49ers don't.
No, but that is, it's always been the same, isn't it?
Yep.
Tom Brady, by the way, credited with a tackle in this game after the interception. Just like throwing himself in there. Maybe, just maybe, he's getting his head back in the game. And if he does, then, he can be well worth it still.
This is the same run they went on in 2020.
Is
Or
it?
2020, when they won the Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
'cause they didn't win the division that year, did they?
No, they didn't. No,
And I think it was week 10 when they got back to 500.
Really? I didn't know that.
But I mean, they also had an O-line that year.
And a better coach.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay, let's move on. Speaking of momentum, as we were there with the Bucks building up ahead of steam, you know who's won 2 in a row? The Lions!
Yay!
The Lions have won 2 division games in a row. They've won away from home for the first time in 13 games.
Gary looks over the moon.
This was a
like
shootout of a game.
Against the Bears.
Yep, Bears
Like,
30, Lions 31.
Like, where's this toilet bowl? We didn't even introduce it.
We
as the
didn't need
toilet
to.
bowl.
This was a brilliant game decided by Kairos Santos missed extra point. That was the difference in this game, which is crazy. Look, Justin Fields, I'm sure Jim's going to come up with all the records he's been setting, but he had 178 rushing yards again. It's the most rushing yards by any quarterback over a 5-game stretch.
Yeah.
Like, it's bonkers.
He's on par to beat all the records in terms of rushing quarterbacks. But he's playing really well. Like, his passing game is improving as well. Like,
And they're still only 3-6.
yeah,
and this is the problem.
yeah,
It's the same as the Steelers.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
need to let.
absolutely.
They
Yeah,
need
he's
to
going to
let
have
this
to play.
guy.
Yeah.
I've been quietly a little bit. Sorry, I'm quite happy with where the Bears are going in terms of their team. They started off really badly. They are getting better each and every week. And whilst they still lost this game, there were moments in the game where it's like, one of Justin Fields' run, he just absolutely tore away from the defense. Like, that guy's got genuine pace.
Yeah, he really does. Look, I don't like the franchise, but I can't help but be impressed by what Justin Fields has put on tape for the last 4 weeks. The first 4 weeks of the season, he was terrible.
Yeah.
Properly the worst quarterback in the league.
Yep.
No, but
Yeah.
He was worse than Davis Mills in the first 4 weeks.
He was.
He was
if
bad.
you check the first 5 weeks power rankings on our website, you'll see that he was the worst.
He was the worst, according to John Farrow, because I checked.
Yes.
Don't forget, 1 week he completed 4 of 9 passes for like 12 yards or something. Like, he was bad, but at least now they look competitive as a team. I know it was the Lions. I know the Lions can't defend. Jared Goff playing for his position in the league, 19 of 26, 236 and a touchdown. He's another one. As long as he doesn't turn it over, the Lions are in with a shout because they can keep up with the scoring. They had rushing touchdowns from Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, who was back in this game. Only had 6 carries for 6 yards, but you know it was worthwhile having him back. This doesn't teach us anything particularly about either team
as well, didn't they?
Yes, they did. They had St. Brown back as well.
Which was the big difference.
119 yards off 10 receptions. Like, he is a proper weapon. It's him and Terry McLaurin. You really feel like they're wasted on the teams they're on. Like, they would be Cooper Kupp on another team. Although this year, also wasted.
I know the defense isn't good, but Aiden Hutchinson is starting to show some potential as, you know, a number 2 pick. Like, he made a game-winning sack.
Game-winning sack, tackle for a loss earlier.
And it was him that covered. He didn't buy the screen pass and covered. Got for the pick 6, which a huge part of the win. You know, it's slim pickings on that defense, but
they can build around him.
They can build him out, and you know,
absolute standout.
So many draft picks over the next couple of years. They can just build around.
Yeah,
bring in a new quarterback, build around Aiden Hutchinson on defense, and a new quarterback on
You've got the lines.
I'm almost entirely convinced that Jared Goff starts for this team next year.
He probably does.
Yeah.
They'll have someone behind him.
Someone behind him.
But I think you may see a full year, depending on where they pick, because they won't necessarily take quarterback in the first round, depending on who's there.
I don't think it'll matter next year.
No.
They're still too far back.
Absolutely. One more thing about the Bears. Who remembered Cole Kmet was still a thing? 4 receptions, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You've seen nothing out of him this season. It was interesting to say.
Because the Bears hasn't really been in the red zone so far this season until
like
Fields has started running them into the red zone the last 2 weeks.
And like you said, Fields has been a terrible quarterback.
All right. The all-NFC West matchup of the Cardinals and Rams shouldn't have given us...
This is the toilet bowl.
Yeah, this should have given us 2 premier quarterbacks to salivate over. Instead, we got Colt McCoy and John Wolford, as both Kyler Murray and Matt Stafford were ruled out half an hour before the game.
Don't forget Bryce Perkins.
Yeah. It finished 27-17. The Cardinals outgained the Rams in just about every metric going, climbed above them at 4-6, and left McVay nursing a serious headache, compounded by the news that Cooper Kupp has an ankle sprain and is now going to IR. It's over for the Rams. They will not make the postseason. I'm labelling it now. I don't think there's any comeback for them. The Cards...
I think he might be right.
The Cards
have
just about enough life left.
And Zach Ertz is injured as well.
Zach Ertz out for the season.
Out for the season,
Yeah, he's done. But here's the thing, and this will get shot down. Colt McCoy is a better quarterback for this team right now than Kyler Murray.
No.
Fuck off.
He was everything that Kyler Murray is not, and the team looked functional.
No.
They won because the other team played John Wolford, who is in net. That's why they won. I mean...
Colt McCoy...
Colt McCoy,
career backup,
and you can always
like the Redskins. They were the Redskins then, with an asterisk.
Yeah.
To say it.
And the Browns,
and
the Giants
is not better than Kyler Murray.
No, he's not a better player,
or even for this team.
He's a better quarterback for this system.
That is not correct.
It works so well.
I think what you get is because you've got Colt McCoy, you reduce the playbook, and that's what they probably need. They need to reduce what they expect from Kyler Murray. I mean,
not for the money they pay him, they don't.
But no, I still, there's nothing wrong with going back to basics rather than just hoping. So like, the guy's magic.
Why didn't they do that 6 weeks ago?
Because he's a head coach desperately trying to save his job.
That's the time to go back to basics and make sure you win a game. I see where Griff's coming from, and
I don't.
I can see that point.
I've never hidden the fact that I don't think Kyler is anywhere near as good as everyone thinks he is. I just don't get it. I think he's a child. I think he just throws his toys out the pram.
He's the size of a child.
No. He is a child. He occasionally makes brilliant game-winning plays, which is what gets him paid. But also, he's the reason they don't win a lot of games. And Colt McCoy will just manage the game. He's done it. Don't forget, he came in, was it last year or the year before, and won 3 of 4 starts. Like, he just plays a simple way, and it works. It works.
He's 4-1 in his last 2 seasons, and you're like, great, but like that's what happens when backups come in. Mike White came in and won 2 games, and you look at Cooper Rush. These guys they cater for these backup quarterbacks, and not I'm sorry, if you play John Wolford, that win doesn't count. The guy is fucking abysmal.
Okay.
If you play them for too many weeks in a row,
Yeah.
the teams you're playing, they figure it out, and they just start attacking it differently.
But
it doesn't work.
They figured Kyler out.
But when they try and do something more, they haven't got the talent to do it. So yes, on that one game, it worked fine, but there's no way. I disagree wholeheartedly with that statement.
As well, like Kyler and JJ Watt and Hopkins does not a good squad make.
No,
it's the squad is full of average players.
Zach Ertz has been having a good year. That hurts a lot. That does.
But the Baker's a good safety. But
Hurts to lose Ertz.
Hurts to lose Ertz.
Yeah,
One down more. Last few weeks,
Yeah,
actually,
been playing
he's
well.
really come along.
It's because the coverage has gone to Hopkins.
Yeah,
that's why.
That's true.
yeah, that is absolutely
Like you can't read anything into this game because you've got 2 backup quarterbacks
So
playing against each other.
Here's the thing then. What's happened to Aaron Donald?
Well, he wanted to retire, didn't he?
He got paid.
He got paid.
Because he is doing nothing.
But then,
He's only here, so he doesn't get fined.
yeah, you're right. Aaron Donald isn't doing much this year, but who is on that team? Who is on that defense?
No
Jalen
one.
Ramsey doing much? Because he got absolutely destroyed against the 49ers.
He did, because there is no pressure up front. There is nothing. Aaron Donald is having his worst season by a country mile. And the whole of the D line for the Rams is letting down the secondary. I agree, Jalen Ramsey is getting played all over, but it's because there's nothing up front.
Who else they lose, though?
Von Miller.
Like, they haven't got good edge rushers at the moment, and that's why it's easy to defend against them. Defend against the defense, as such. This is the problem when you go all in. You can't continue to go all in year after year after year. It's going to catch up with you, and you want to keep some players, Stafford, Kupp, Ramsey, Donald. And you've got to make sure all those bit players are just good enough to get you over the hump. And this season, they're not.
No. And they're on the field as well so much because they can't run the ball with, their
8 running backs. They don't like any of them.
They can't do that. Allen Robinson is just chasing balls over his head. And then it just, now Cooper Kupp's out. Just pack the season in.
They won the
Wrap it in.
They probably will pack it in.
Cotton wool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come back next year. Let's see what happens.
Come on, let's move on because this is a turd game.
Okay. Moving on from that then. The Chargers-49ers was a closer game, indicative of where these teams are right now. A premium on points with the defensives making plays, holding Herbert and Garoppolo to 15 punts or field goals between them. The Niners held the ball 13 minutes longer than the Chargers and milked the clock for a 16-22 final score.
Ran the ball 41 times.
Yeah, but with Elijah Mitchell getting more touches than CMC.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah,
save him.
I'm asking, is that the plan?
Well, Elijah Mitchell, was doing well before he got injured.
Yeah.
So he's back, share the load, definitely.
Absolutely. You guys said that CMC would be injured after 3 weeks. That's his 4th week.
Yeah, that is his 4th week. Yeah, absolutely.
And, unlike...
Being good for waiting.
Yeah. Unlike when he was in Carolina, there's more around him. The ball doesn't have to go to him every single time. It can go to Elijah Mitchell. It can go to Deebo Samuel. They can throw it to Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. He's not the focal point of that offense. He's a very important part of that offense. But there are other places where, at one point in the game, you had both McCaffrey and Samuel in the backfield. Trying to defend that.
And then the Niners have held teams to under 20 points more than any other team in the league this year.
Yeah. The defence has been excellent. It was for both teams. Rushing game for the Chargers is letting down the passing game. Eckler, 6 carries, 24 yards, and Herbert with the second most rushing.
Keenan Allen's still not back.
Keenan
as
Allen
well,
and
though.
Mike Williams. They don't have a passing game, so you just bottle up Eckler.
The week before, or the last 2 games, Joshua Palmer had actually played really well. He actually got 14.7 yards per reception, but only 3 catches from his 8 targets because he was just defended so tightly because they've got nothing else.
And this is why people are starting to get a bit excited about the Niners, because although they're not, they're not running away with anything. Jimmy G doesn't have to do anything with this team.
If the team stays fit, and that's a massive if in San Francisco, it's there's potent weapons all across that offense and a really, really good defense.
You think you're winning a playoff game?
Well, I think the playoff is where we do tend to win just because of that defense in a running game.
But the Packers won't be there.
Well, I think they will be there. I think we've got a chance of winning the division as well now.
Yep.
Certainly so.
If we win the division, then it would be interesting to see, because
then we could play
no Rams, no Bucks this year.
But
you've got the Vikings and the Eagles, and the Giants. John, I'll put the Giants.
Well, I mean, I would struggle to see them winning a playoff game at the moment, just because I think going by week 10, I don't think Shanahan's fully aware how to use all his weapons yet. He's got another 8 weeks to work that out. If he does, this team can go deep. I thought they'd go deep at the start of the season.
Keep using the phrase "going deep," John. While I think of the appropriate joke, you just
no, it's fine. But I mean, they've got McCaffrey. If he stays fit, that could unlock that offense, which has been at times quite lackluster. That's the word. And I mean, as well, you can't rely on playing like a team like the Chargers without any wide receivers every week. Yeah. And they're fighting hard, the Chargers, but the lack of personnel is just
it shows up in the fact that over the last 2 seasons, Herbert had 69 touchdowns. This year he has 14.
Yeah.
At this point,
his yards per attempt as well as gone off a cliff.
Absolutely plummeted. It's tricky. It's they're fighting the age-old problem with the Chargers, which is they always get injured.
Yeah.
I'm still not sold on the coach. I don't think he does enough exciting things with what should be a better team. But they are certainly limited by the injuries again. And finally, last Thursday's NFC South showdown between the Falcons and the Panthers. Everyone should forget about this game. A 25-15 result for Carolina. Donta Foreman having as many rush yards as the whole Falcons team put together. I think that might be an exaggeration. The Falcons had 8 more when I went and looked it up. But carrying an ineffective PJ Walker and co to victory. Does anyone care? I mean, these are 2 terrible teams.
I care. I thought the Falcons would win this.
I thought the Falcons would comfortably win this. The fact they didn't.
I find that disappointing.
I know Arthur Smith's not working with a lot, but what has he shown you in a season and a half to make you think he deserves seasons 3 and 4?
He's doing better than the sum of the parts of this team.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he is.
Should they not be beating the Panthers
comfortably?
Yes,
they should be beating the Panthers, but I probably wouldn't put the Falcons at 4 and 6 right now, based on some of that talent on the team.
They shouldn't have got to 7 wins last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that it's last year that's saving him at the moment, because he's not been discussed as a hot butt candidate, but he's not been very good. They've not done anything well. They're just clinging on.
I think there's been games where I think they've been really fun to watch. But
how many of those games have they won?
Well, they beat the fucking 49ers.
That is true.
And this much vaunted front 6 of the 49ers could not get anywhere near Marcus Mariota, a backup quarterback.
You know I love that.
And they've added Cordell Patterson back to that team. That makes them viable.
I think the Marcus Mariota project is petering out.
I agree.
And in the nicest possible way. He came back with a bit of flair, a bit of excitement, and he has done very little
very little
for
the last
like
few weeks.
5 weeks.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing them put Desmond Ridder in.
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
I'll be amazed if he doesn't get 3 or 4 starts this season. But the rushing game is where the Falcons have to win with Mariota and also with Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier. Between them, they had 13 carries for 38 yards.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's not enough. But it shouldn't. It's only the fact they lost to the Panthers. The Panthers, who've now won 2 of 3 games since Matt Rule was fired. Come on now. Donta Foreman, 31 carries, 130 yards and a touchdown. And Laviska Shenault, don't forget him, 2 carries, 42 yards and a touchdown. Like, they've got weapons, they've got pieces. PJ Walker, though, disappointing
10
again.
for 16.
10 for 16 for 108 yards. I mean, where was this the first week when he was really good and heaved that bomb down the field? And, they're not playing Baker because if they do, and he starts more than 60% of the games, they have to give up a higher draft pick for him.
Well, I believe
that's the only reason.
I did read that looks like he's starting this week.
And now, because there's not that many games left, he can't cross the threshhold, so they probably can. He gives them an even better chance to win. There's a chance they're going to win more games, but 15-25, it should never have been. Right. That's too much talk about
They're playing
that.
the Ravens, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
They're dead in the water. John, power rankings time. A very late decision this week to announce the power rankings, so it'll be interesting to see who's fucked this one up.
All pretty close together, apart from 2 teams. Would anyone like to guess which teams we disagreed with on most?
Dolphins.
Patriots.
No. Colts and Saints.
Hang on, we disagreed on the Colts.
I would imagine I've got them higher than everyone
I
else.
might have them slightly higher.
Yes. Who would you like to think had them highest?
Me?
It was Griff. 19th and 20th. They ranged down to 31st.
31st?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
They can't with their record.
They don't have a head coach.
They've got Jeff Saturday.
They've won one more game than the Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
I think that is still.
Oh, breaking news. Bears place running back Khalil Herbert on IR.
Well, maybe they'll give the ball to fucking
Montgomery. That'd be nice.
No.
Sorry, John.
So, bottom, everyone but one person had the Texans at bottom. Everyone had the Texans at bottom. Sorry.
I had the Texans at the bottom.
Below there, above them, Vegas Raiders at 31. Then the Panthers, then the Jags, then the Colts. Colts saved by some people having them high. But that's boring. Who's at the top?
Chiefs.
Eagles. Eagles. 3 people had them at number 1. Griff had them at number 2. Gary them at number 3. Then it's the Chiefs. Then the Vikings. Then the Bills. Miami Dolphins at 5.
Actually, my top 5.
I literally I took
Yeah, Jim had it spot on.
I took schedule into account with the Eagles. I think you have to.
Get no arguments about me. I put the Dolphins top.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
What did I go, John? Chiefs.
Chiefs, Vikings, Eagles, Bills, Ravens, Dolphins. So to round out the top 10, Ravens, Titans, Cowboys, Giants, 49ers.
Not too much to pick from in the middle, though. It's got to be very close.
In the middle, there's just a whole load of teams together.
What was the Jets' overall position, John?
14th.
Patriots, 15th, something like that.
16th.
Yeah.
Seahawks.
12th. There you go.
Tight.
Yeah,
It's
tight.
tight.
There's as you mentioned last time, there's 5 good teams.
Last one I would like to know, Commanders at 5-5.
Oh, because I've got them down as still a football team. They are 18th. In someone when they, I was trying. Gary sent me his, and I was like, "Where the fuck are the Commanders?" And I realised he'd written Redskins.
Oh, boo! You're not allowed to call them that anymore.
Well, it's because I just update mine on my notes on my iPhone that I've been using for the last 3 years. Never changed it.
You should
Yeah.
do. Red Pandas now.
That's it. There's in the middle. It's quite a lot of much of much. There's 5 good teams and about 7 really bad ones.
One of you sent the thing out to the group, I think it was Jim, saying if the playoffs were today, the whole of the AFC East would be in the
That's
playoffs.
right. Yeah.
And 3 of the 4 teams in the NFC East would be in the
yes,
playoffs.
that's
Washington would be the 8th seed.
That
They're on
is
the bubble.
Yeah.
fucking bonkers
Isn't
that
it?
that's the case right now. I mean, obviously, the Patriots had the week off. I was looking at the schedule. We've got the Jets again, and then the Bills and the Vikings. Like
It's tough weeks.
they could very quickly be
To be
out
fair,
of that
in the
race.
AFC, it's the Patriots who are the 7th seed, and then you've got the Chargers at 8 and Bengals at 9. Everyone's got a 5-4 record. So
Do you think that the league is genuinely more even than it's been for a long time?
Yes,
feel like that,
but I
doesn't
think
it?
it's
You know how
taken
it's
a.
supposed to
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
I
where-
think the middle of the league has taken a step down. There's a lot of extremely poor O-line play.
I just think there's there's no standout teams this year, and I think it's better for it. I think some of the middle teams, like the challengers, the contenders,
Do you not think-
have
Is
got
it,
their game?
is it not how the league is supposed to work? Though?
Yes.
With the way
Absolutely.
it's draft picks, the way the salaries work.
But it can't be a coincidence that it's coincided with the changing guard for the quarterbacks that we saw for 15 years. A lot of them have gone, or they've moved teams and not been so good. Brady, Wilson, whatever. That has mixed everything up.
Yeah, because I think every year now you go, I don't know, at the start of the season you go, well, it could be the Bills, but it could be the Chiefs, or it could be the Vikings, out of that pack in the middle, you wouldn't be surprised if somebody drafts really well and trades really well, that anybody from the Niners, the Vikings,
Chargers.
the Chargers, all of a sudden
Yeah.
won the Super Bowl. You'd be like, oh, okay.
Look, there's nothing saying
Like,
that the Browns, if Deshaun Watson comes good,
Right now, I would say
Browns
there must
could-
be
yeah.
12 teams right now that could win the Super Bowl this year. I would say.
Yes, I think
I
that's
think
fair.
that's fair.
yeah, I'm looking at my top 10, bar the Seahawks, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I had the Seahawks at 10.
That seems a tad high, if I'm honest. But
I had them.
Where did you have the Giants, Jim?
13th.
for years and years, you looked
14th.
for years and years you looked at the AFC and you said it's the Patriots and the Steelers and then two other teams.
Broncos,
Yeah,
Broncos
two
are
other
good on
teams
there,
on any given year. And then in the NFC, you had the Packers will make the playoffs because the division was so bad. And then,
Cowboys.
maybe not really. Niners occasionally went in and
Cowboys
out,
haven't been in the
but it
championship
was
game since
it was much
94.
more it was much more
Playoffs,
mixed
though.
up in the NFC because every year, don't forget the NFC South didn't have a repeat winner until about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And your division was always so tight that it could be you guys or the Seahawks at the top, and then the Cardinals, when they had Carson Palmer, were good, and then the Rams were terrible until they took over. So there was always very, like, you knew Drew Brees and the Saints, they never had a defence, but they were going to be the best one in the South
Oh, they had a
if Drew
great
Brees was
defense that
playing.
year that they weren't meant to be doing things. That
Yes, they absolutely did that 1 year. But that's all changed. Those players that we've named there, Roethlisberger, Brady's moved, obviously, and then
the Mannings.
the Mannings going. It's changed it. Carson Palmer going. It's all changed it. Even Phillip Rivers, because you don't have those players in place, and now you're waiting to see who replaces it. That's what shook everything up for me. You know, the Dolphins searched for a quarterback for 30 years after Dan Marino, 25 years after Dan Marino. The closest they got was Ryan Tannehill. Yeah, and now all of a sudden they might actually have one who's quite good. Don't forget, after Tannehill, Jay Cutler.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, dirty words, and Brock Osweiler. Oh,
Do you think they could have signed Drew Brees?
I know. If only he'd passed the fitness test. Sweet.
And Thomas Brady.
Sweetest Player of the Week brought to you by tootsweets.shop.
One and only.
It's Jefferson's catch. It turned the game.
All of us agree.
No, we don't.
It was
I
spectacular.
didn't agree.
Well, you know.
It came from the same game, but I thought the Hendricks fumble recovery was a much better play because he dived over the whole pile and got the ball at the bottom.
You have too many defensive players.
Yeah. I'm not voting
So
against
you could also have the Vikings fumble recovery to win the game, couldn't you?
The Rondell Moore one-handed catch as well was pretty special.
I shan't shout down the Justin Jefferson because he is the best receiver in the game.
Yes. And
I love how we bring it back round full circle.
when something's that spectacular, let's
Just go
call
with
it what it is.
Any
It was great.
other news? Apart from John's made it all the way through the podcast without running off to the loo this week.
Only once.
That was in the scheduled break.
Beckham is training. He's cleared to train again. Of course, doesn't have a team, but I imagine that's going to sort of heat up in the next couple of weeks. He's also suing Nike because he reckons he owes them. They owe him like $20 million.
Wow.
But then he'll probably want it paid in dog coin or some bullshit.
Dog coin.
It's an actual thing.
That is
Dog,
actual
yeah.
thing.
What?
No,
Yeah.
that's a thing.
We'll save that for the cryptocurrency podcast because I haven't got a clue what you just said.
Well, I mean, I was just reading in the break that Brady was a investor in FTX.
Yes.
So he invested in the company, which is it's funny because he's now he's definitely going to pay another 10 years.
Colts linebacker Shaquille Leonard out for the season.
Yeah,
done. Okay. If there's nothing else for this week, we will sign off and say goodbye. We will be back next week following week 11, hopefully with a full house. Goodbye.
Bye.